Block print is everywhere, from fashion to resort to home decor and all over social media. When something explodes like this, the real question to ask is this still a good business opportunity or just an oversaturated trend bubble that's bound to burst soon? I founded my own block print brand about 10 years ago. When I first started, there were almost no block print brands out there. Today, they're everywhere, and it's getting increasingly difficult to tell these brands apart. So why is block print booming? Who is it for? Should you start a block print brand? Let's talk about all of that in this video. First, there's a shift away from fast fashion, especially in the past 5 years or so, and a shift towards more slow, sustainable, ethical fashion. Secondly, block print naturally has very strong visual appeal. There's beautiful motifs and prints, and the colors are vibrant. It takes to social media very well because of the aesthetic. It just naturally creates beautiful content to share and great marketing content as well. Next, it's small batch friendly. So it naturally lends itself to small batch brands because of the lower MOQs or minimum order quantities. And it has much lower MOQs than, let's say, traditional types of prints. And lastly, it works across various product categories. It works great in home decor, but also in apparel. It works great for the resort wear kind of genre, but also for lifestyle and boutiques as well. Okay, so why do small brands love block print so much, especially lately? Number one, it's just so accessible. It's so much easier for small brands just starting out to start out with block printing because of, like we just said, the lower MOQs, and the handmade nature of it naturally just supports smaller quantities. There's also no complex machinery involved for printing. It's literally a block that gets engraved or already is engraved, and that's what's used to print the fabric. Fabric MOQs are smaller, so it's often 100 to 200 meters MOQ or minimum order quantity for fabric, which really isn't that much. Number two, block print just has a naturally built-in craft story. The name block print itself explains the handmade nature and the process. Customers more easily understand the time and skill that goes into the process, and a lot of times they're willing to pay a more premium price because of this. Number three, there's a lower setup cost for customization. So custom blocks usually cost anywhere between about $50 to $200, can be higher depending on how intricate or complicated the print is. But in general, it's much lower than other woven designs or even other print setups for other traditional printing methods. And lastly, there's always most likely so much block print stock available. So there's a lot of stock availability. It's easy to source stock prints. Smaller quantities are available in stock prints. And this lowers the risk even more for first-time founders who don't feel comfortable yet designing their own prints or getting their own blocks engraved. And this is great for testing styles. And with stock block prints, big commitments aren't usually even required. I'm going to share with you some of the cons of block printing. So number one, block printing is not automatically sustainable or ethical. Handmade doesn't equal sustainability. Oftentimes with certain manufacturers, there are chemical dyes issues, wastewater issues, and labor transparency issues. And these types of issues will vary mainly depending on the manufacturer. It's not the process itself, but it's more the manufacturer you use. Number two, oversaturation and loss of differentiation. Block print itself is no longer unique or not as unique as it once was. There's the same motifs that we see over and over again, the same silhouettes that are popping up, and the same color palettes that are coming out everywhere. The market seems to be oversaturated, and like I said earlier, it's getting very difficult to tell certain brands apart. Unfortunately, places like Etsy are also super saturated with block prints. So there's multiple stores selling the same items at rock bottom prices. And the issue isn't like, oh, I'm getting a great price on block prints. It's often poor quality, like bad fabric, it's bleeding, the dye's bleeding, and doesn't fit well, there's shrinkage. So you really have to vet what you're buying on Etsy and make sure you're getting a good product. All this to say the specialness of block printing has kind of diminished over the past few years. So another con is quality variability. So with block printing, obviously it's all handmade. Each piece is truly unique because it's all hand printed. But what happens is handmade always equals variation. There's a lot of color shifts, misalignment, and dye marks on block printed fabric. The variations can be really beautiful sometimes and make the fabric and the style look unique, but sometimes it's hard to tell between defects versus variations. Also, customers might not understand the process. Someone who's not as familiar with block print might think something's a defect when it's actually just a drip of fabric that's a variation. Scaling is hard. More volume equals more printers, more risk, and more labor costs. Unfortunately, consistency sometimes drops as volume of block printing increases because it's done by hand and it's human error. This leaves more room for mistakes. Next, there's margin and cost pressure with block printing, especially lately. The higher cost of block printing, the handmade nature of it, requires more premium pricing. And with the economy how it is lately, the market in general, the economy is more price sensitive than ever right now. Premium pricing is just harder to sustain, not only for block print brands, but many apparel brands around the globe. With higher costs and the push to have lower prices, it creates kind of unrealistic margins. Obviously, if you don't have the margins you need for your business, it's going to impact your net profit and the sustainability of your business. I see a lot of block printing brands either overpricing or underpricing, and to me, both are very risky. And lastly, there's India-specific challenges going on right now, and I'm talking from the US, but obviously, tariffs are a huge issue, especially with India. There's longer lead times and late deliveries are common. There are also seasonal production pauses with block printing, and this is what people don't tell you until you get into it, or if you've never done block printing before, you don't know, but there's a monsoon season in India, mainly in Jaipur, in July and August. So basically, all of block printing shuts down in those 2 months because they need to be able to dry the clothing or the fabric, I should say, outside. And when it's wet and humid, they can't do this. There's also color bleeding that happens from the humidity and dye inconsistencies. So it basically shuts down in July and August. So you have to plan your production timing around that. Okay, now let's talk about the 3 biggest mistakes I see block printing brands making. Number 1, lack of individuality. What it looks like is just kind of copying another brand's aesthetic. And then what happens is everything kind of looks very similar and looks the same. And then we have unrealistic pricing. So I see brands pricing their products way too high or way too low. And in my opinion, it's just that middle ground, sweet spot you need to find that works within your margin and where your customers will buy without you having to mark down. And unfortunately, it seems like so many apparel brands are marking their products down and not selling as much full price lately. Let's talk about a couple alternatives to block printing that I love. First, there's batik wax resist printing, which is mainly done in the Bali, Indonesia area. And batik printing is much less saturated, especially in the US market, than block printing. It's kind of a unique thing. If you find something that's batik, it's kind of rare to see it. And batik prints still have rich, luxurious patterns with beautiful, bold colors, which I personally love the look of. Batik also has a strong craft story, similar to block printing. The downside of batik is it's still labor intensive the way that block printing is. There's also a higher cost involved because of the nature of the wax, the handmade nature, and just the way it's done. And lastly, it's not automatically sustainable. It will depend on the manufacturer and not the process itself. But if you're interested in a batik or wax resist print, then you should look into somewhere like Bali, Indonesia for small batch, low MOQ manufacturers. There's a lot of them out there. And number 2 is screen printing, which I've been learning a lot more about lately. And this includes water-based screen printing. Screen printing is way more location flexible than block printing. It can be done anywhere. And there's a ton of screen printers in the US as well. By nature, it's more predictable and consistent than block printing. It's much better for reorders and scaling because you can guarantee that something's going to look the same as it did before, or 99% the same. Whereas in block printing, the weather, the dye, there's so many other factors that can make your reorder look much different than your initial order. In screen printing, water-based options can be more eco-friendly than the traditional inks. The downside to screen printing is it just doesn't have the same type of romantic craft story that block printing does. There are also setup costs involved with screen printing, like screens and color changes. And again, sustainability is definitely not guaranteed with screen printing. It really depends on who you use, your manufacturer, and their own process and what they do. So who is block printing right for and who is it not right for? So first, if you're comfortable with variation. No two items in block printing are going to be the same. And there are so many factors that can affect the block printing, from weather to the artisan and the way that they're printing on that day. So many things can affect the way the block printed fabric comes out. If you have an initial order and then decide to reorder the same print, it could look very, very different. Next, if you value long-term manufacturing relationships. Block printing is a long game. It's a real aesthetic-based art form, and the more close you get to your manufacturer, they get to know your aesthetic, the better relationship you have with them, the more willing they are to help you out and understand your point of view, your aesthetic, and what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. It's also a good fit if you have a clear brand point of view. It's always great to have your own unique prints. It sets you apart from everybody else out there who's doing block printing. So if you have a clear point of view, if you like to design your own prints, you have a vision for your brand and your styles, it might be a great fit for block printing. And then you have to be okay with longer lead times. Just due to the handmade nature of block printing, their lead times are longer. Remember the July and August shutdown, and that block printing doesn't happen during those 2 months. So you just have to be okay with a longer lead time and build that into your production calendar and your seasonal timing. Block printing is not a good fit for you if you want fast turnaround. So like we just said, you have to be okay with longer lead times. If you're expecting really quick turnaround, maybe you either choose stock prints, available fabrics, or you just stay away from block printing altogether. If you need perfect consistency, as we've been saying, block print has a lot of different variations and it can be affected by a lot of different elements. So for example, if you're someone who's doing a lot of wholesale orders and you have buyers who want the same thing or do a lot of reorders and expect the reorders to look exactly the same as the initial order, it might not be for you. And lastly, it might not be your thing if you want trend-driven product without much differentiation. Like if you don't really have a point of view and you just want to go trendy. So just to wrap up, block printing is an artisan process that takes time and skill set. It's not a quick and easy option or a good fast fashion option. The brands I see succeeding have a clear point of view, they differentiate through prints and styling and colors, and they're intentional with their pricing and margins. So if you're thinking about starting a small batch fashion brand or just interested in production and the apparel industry, I talk honestly about all the realities of the fashion industry here on this channel. I'd love it so much if you commented on anything you want me to talk about next. I'll see you in the next video.